Today we're going to talk about heaving-to. Heaving-to is usually referred to as the way we stop our boat, which is sort of true, but also not true. And we'll get into why that is in just a bit. Regardless, we will want to heave-to anytime we want to be able to focus our attention on tasks other than steering the boat. For example, we might need to reef our sail, shake out the reef, repair something, have a snack, or, as is the case in this video, swap out the battery on our GoPro camera. In any case, we need a way to be able to let go of the tiller without our boat sailing out of control on its own. And the way we accomplish that is by performing a maneuver known as heaving-to. Let's start by just watching the maneuver being executed, and then we'll step through it and talk about each step and why we're doing it. As you can see here, thanks in part to these splendid telemetry gauges I've added to the GoPro footage, on this lovely, cloudy, and most importantly windy March day, we were cruising along at a healthy pace of 5 to 6 knots, east-southeast along the Patapsco River, toward the last remnants of the Francis Scott Key Bridge at the opening to Baltimore Harbor. The GoPro battery was running low, so in order to continue recording our trip, it needed to be replaced. Since the camera was positioned at the stern in close proximity to the tiller, there was no way to safely accomplish this while continuing to sail. We therefore executed a heave-to maneuver so I could let go of the tiller to change the battery. And that is a heave-to maneuver. My hands are off the tiller and free to focus on the task of replacing the camera battery. The tiller itself is lashed down on the leeward side, by my foot in this case, yet the boat does not tack or even go head to wind. Note, however, that the boat is not actually stopped, but is slowly drifting to leeward, at a speed of nearly 3 knots in the strong winds and current that we encountered on this day. Keep this drift in mind when deciding where and when to heave to. Never do it from a position windward of a nearby obstruction or hazard. Now let's walk through the steps of what we did here. First, of course, look around for obstructions and announce to your crew the intended maneuver. If your crew is inexperienced, be sure to explain everything in advance so they know what is going to happen and what they should do, or, more importantly in this case, not do. Make sure the jib is trimmed for a close haul with the working sheet pulled in tight. The maneuver starts like a regular tack, except that the crew should not tack the jib. Leave the windward sheet pulled in tight in order to back the jib. It will act as your brake to slow the boat down. As soon as the mainsail has changed tack, fully ease the main sheet as if you were going to sail on a deep, broad reach, allowing the sail to luff. This will ensure that the mainsail does not provide any power to keep the boat moving. Gently turn the boat toward the wind, taking care not to accidentally tack. If you find yourself completely head to wind and about to tack, bring the tiller back toward center and let the pressure on the backed jib turn you away from the wind. Then try again, slowly turning the boat into the wind. The wind hitting the backed jib will gradually slow the boat, and the turning motion, combined with the pressure of forcing the backed jib into the wind, should accelerate the process. When you find that the boat is moving so slowly that you no longer have adequate steerage to hold the boat into the wind, you have successfully hove to. Secure the tiller and do what you need to do. Just stay alert in case the wind changes drastically, you begin to drift close to a hazard, or another vessel comes by. If you've been paying close attention, you may have noticed that while hove to, in addition to drifting leeward and a little bit forward, the boat's heading tends to slowly oscillate. As the boat turns into the wind, the mainsail luffs and depowers, and the increasing pressure on the jib pushes the boat back away from the wind. As the boat turns away from the wind, the jib loses a bit of power, and the mainsail starts to fill up a little bit, moving the boat gently forward, which gives the rudder more steerage. Since the tiller is pushed hard over, the boat turns back up into the wind until the mainsail luffs again, and the cycle repeats. To resume sailing, simply release the windward jib sheet and allow the jib to complete its tack, hauling in the other sheet. Then trim the mainsail. Now let's look at a few more examples of heave-to execution. In general, it is a good idea to start the maneuver from a port tack so you finish on a starboard tack. You are still technically underway, and therefore the rules of navigation still apply. In some cases, it may be desirable to heave to without changing tacks. In these cases, rather than tacking and leaving the jib back, you can literally heave the jib to windward by hauling on the windward jib sheet, which is the origin of the term heave to. However, this may be very difficult in strong winds, and it is generally much easier to back the jib by changing tacks, except in very light winds. Alright, that'll do it. Of course, if you expect to be hove to only briefly, and there are no other sailing vessels nearby, it is still acceptable to be hove to on a port tack. Just keep in mind that you will still be expected to give way to vessels on starboard tack. This concludes my tutorial on heaving to in a sailboat. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions about anything I covered here, feel free to post them in the comments. Happy sailing!